If you know anything about Ireland, you'll know that we are extraordinarily prolific tea drinkers. We probably drink anywhere between 4 and 6 cups of tea a day. I'd say that's about a 250 ml cup. We drink at least a litre of tea every single day. Wouldn't be surprising. And personally, I started drinking tea through my father, right? My father's a terrible man for never finishing a cup of tea. He'd drink roughly about half of it, and then he'd put it down somewhere and forget about it. And it would go cold. And then, I'm a child of, let's say, 5 or 6, and I come along and I wander around. Now I'm always looking for something to eat and drink. And I started picking up his cups of tea, and then I would drink the ends of it. When, by that point, it had gone cold for an hour, half an hour, and the tea bag had made it very, very strong. It was at the very end where all the sugar was, and it was very, very sweet. And that's where I got the taste for tea. And I'd say that's very similar for most Irish people. They get it from their parents, their grandparents, this kind of a thing. And from then on, I suppose you never kind of stop. Tea in Ireland is very, very particular. We've never had good tea, like you might have a genuine tea culture in England or in China or Japan or any of these kinds of places, where they would have high tea. Tea is very specifically upper class, ceremonial, and expensive. It's an acquired taste. Tea in Ireland has always been of a lesser quality. It would come in like dregs, dust, this kind of a thing. And it would be blended up from a bunch of kind of offcuts that didn't make it to the English market. And so because it was never very good tea, we would always have to supplement it with milk and sugar. So it would be strong, it would be sweet, it would have an awful lot of milk to it. And I think, could we pause it there for a second? As I was saying, in Ireland we don't have a high tea culture. Tea is very regular, it's working class, it's very simple. We drink a lot of it, and we drink it very often. And when my grandfather was a young man, he actually came over to the Netherlands to a place called Hilversum to help set up, if I remember correctly, it was a set of bakery silos, like silos for holding flours, and had gotten contracted to do some kind of, I suppose, consulting over there. So he lived in Hilversum for something like 2 or 3 months. And while he was there, he had to drink Dutch tea, right? And now the worst part about Dutch tea is that when he came over, and the name of the fellow that he was living with for 3 months was a fellow called Jan, right? And Jan was very good to Seamus, my grandfather. He loved him. And he tried his best to accommodate Seamus's tea drinking habits. But he'd tell me that, like, whenever they would sit down for a cup of tea and he'd put the teapot in front of Seamus, no matter how much Jan's wife put into the teapot, 1 teaspoon, 2 teaspoons, 3 teaspoons, 4 teaspoons, the tea never got strong enough. And it was watery, he would always say. It was watery, he couldn't drink it. And that's how he started drinking coffee after that. He got the taste for coffee because he couldn't stomach the tea here in the Netherlands. And I guess that kind of particularity of tea plays into, the kind of, the character that Irish tea has. it's strong and it's no nonsense. And I think honestly, for myself, there's very few pleasures in life that I would put above having a good cup of tea. I think one of the first times that Francesco got enamored with the idea of me having a chat about tea was one day at work where the two of us were sitting down and I just made myself a cup of tea. I was sitting down and I had 2 digestive biscuits in front of me, right? Now, this is not hyperbole, but the interplay between a strong red-coloured Assam tea with sugar and milk and the malt flavour of a digestive biscuit dipped into it. First of all, of course, you make your tea, you make it strong, you let it steep for a little bit. You dip your digestive biscuits in, of course, 1, 2, you eat 2 of them. And it infuses the cup of tea with this incredible, warming, malty flavour. And it's one of those things that kind of, it touches on something primal in your brain. It touches that little back of your lizard brain that says, oh, this is true comfort. It's like imagine like the first time, you know, Frankenstein's monster discovers fire or something, you know. It's that spark of something, true comfort. It's the thing you keep going back to, you know, again and again and again. Now, God bless, this Earl Grey, it doesn't quite touch a real cup of tea, but it's not bad. It's all right. We'll drink it anyway. Francesca, would you like me to cut the cake?
We have digestive biscuits.
Oh, but the thing is, it's not going to work. It's not going to work the same. It's not going to work the same, unfortunately. Now, the other side of my family would have a completely different kind of a tea culture. So, the mother's side of my family comes from Nakhon Si Thammarat, down the south of Thailand. And the kind of locality that we live in would be described as very rural, like quite poor, rural, peasant farmers. And a lot of the people down there would work these kinds of long hours, manual labor kind of jobs. Like 2 of my uncles work on farms. They work as rubber tree farmers, so they cut rubber trees, and one of them has a durian tree farm, but that's still all infant trees. They won't be ready for like another 10 years, I'd say. And both of them have worked as truck drivers. Now, as a truck driver, of course, you're going between Nakhon Si Thammarat, the deep south, all the way up to Bangkok on these big long drives. And you need things to keep you awake during that kind of long drive. Now, at the back of our house, we have a very, very old and very, very highly valued tree. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called kratom, right? Now, kratom is a kind of mildly psychoactive kind of a leaf. Like, I suppose it would be something similar a little bit to like coca leaves, right? So as you chew it, it gives you like a mild buzz, kind of a stimulant. And it can keep you awake for long periods of time. So in the south, where I'm from, the kind of drink of choice for a lot of these truckers and like rowdy young kids would be something called Nam Katom, right? Now, Nam Katom is a a tea in a very loose sense of the phrase, right? So the way you would make nam gatam would be you'd get a bunch of these gatam leaves, which again, kind of mildly psychoactive, similar to a coca leaf. You'd get a bunch of those down off your tree. You'd get a big pot and you would get a couple bottles of Coca-Cola. And if you had it to hand, it would be great to throw in some cough syrup with codeine. So you empty all of this into a vat. You boil up your Coca-Cola with your codeine and your katam leaves, and then you strain that off into bottles. And that would be nam katam. And it's kind of the opposite end of the field in terms of what you would loosely call a tea. But that would be the drink of choice for a lot of young men down the south in Thailand. Now, personally, I never quite got the taste for nam katam, but I am quite a big fan of katam tea, just like as is. So last time I was down the south, my grandmother never gets to see me very often. And whenever she does get to see me, she wants to kind of do as many things for me as possible and give me as many gifts as possible before I leave home. And then send me off with all of these little things that she's picked up. And one of the things that she'll send me off with is Bai Gatom Hang, right? So Bai Gatom Hang means dried kratom leaves, basically. So she'll go and to great strain, she'll get this huge stick with a big hook on the end of it and shake around all of these branches, knock down all of these leaves. And then, stooped over, she'll gather all of these leaves up. She'll leave them all out on a big tarp underneath the sun for a couple of days. Take them all up and then crush them with a mortar and pestle. And then that makes a very, very good tea. Like, Bai Gatom Hang is kind of the opposite end of Nam Gatom, right? So Bai Gatom Hang, you'll find like students or academics or office people sometimes sitting down and quietly sipping on hot kratom tea, to help get them through their day. Whereas on the opposite end, if you're drinking nam gatom, you're in the truck on your way up to Bangkok, with your next load coming back down. So that, I suppose, would be the other end of my tea culture. One which I'm not as in touch with as I'd prefer to be. I mean, there's, of course, 100 other different kinds of teas in Thailand, but those would be the kind of local specialties that I would be most familiar with in Nopitam, which would be the name of my town down the south.